You flip on NBC one Thursday night in the late 1980s, and there they are, the Huxtables, America's favorite TV family. A doctor dad with a goofy smile, a lawyer mom with effortless poise, and 5 adorable kids growing up in a stately Brooklyn brownstone. They joke, they dance, they solve little life lessons in 30 minutes flat. The Huxtables appear to be living the American dream, and they're black. Week after week, The Cosby Show served up a comforting fantasy of black success, a world where racism is invisible, money is plentiful, and any problem can be overcome with a stern dad talk and a hug. It felt so good, so right, that we wanted to believe every bit of it. But what if I told you that this beloved sitcom was actually selling us a lie about the black middle class? The very lie white America wanted us to believe. Before we go any further, give this video a like to show your support, and make sure to hit that subscribe button. On this channel, we expose the truth about black representation in film and TV, what's real, what's missing, and what they don't want you to see. Now, let's uncover the lie that made The Cosby Show a legend. In 1984, The Cosby Show burst onto television as a revelation. It introduced Cliff and Claire Huxtable, an upper-middle-class black couple in New York, with prestigious careers and a strong, loving marriage. He's an obstetrician. She's a partner-level attorney. Together, they raised their 5 children in luxury and warmth. Their home is filled with jazz music, college sweatshirts, and gentle life lessons. For once, a black family on TV had it all. No one was struggling in the projects or cracking crude jokes about poverty, as in some earlier sitcoms. The Huxtables were educated, articulate, and comfortable, a direct counter to stereotypes that had dominated media for decades. As one TV critic, Henry Louis Gates Jr., noted at the time, the Huxtables might have been the most atypical black family in television history, precisely because of how perfectly successful they were. Between a physician's salary and a lawyer's income, the Huxtable household finances would easily put them in the top echelons of American earners. Their lifestyle on the show, a spacious brownstone in an upscale neighborhood, private schools, steady flow of designer clothes and college tuitions, reflected that affluence. The Cosby Show portrayed not just a black middle-class family, but arguably a black upper-class family, one that most viewers of any race could only dream of emulating. And emulate they did. The Huxtables became a national symbol of black achievement and American family ideals. Cliff Huxtable was TV's favorite dad, wise and playful, guiding his kids with a firm but loving hand. Claire Huxtable was the consummate mom and career woman, managing boardroom meetings by day and bedtime stories by night. The children, Sandra, Denise, Theo, Vanessa, and little Rudy, had typical adolescent misadventures, but never anything that a supportive family talk couldn't fix. Their problems were the good kind of problems that come with privilege. For example, Season 1, Episode 5. A Shirt Story follows Theo buying a $95 Gordon Gartrell designer shirt for a date, only for Cliff to erupt, "I don't have a $95 shirt, and I have a job." He makes Theo return it, and Denise's attempt to sew a homemade version ends in hilarious failure. The scene is a perfect example of the Huxtables' problems being moral lessons, not financial struggles. In Season 2, Episode 3, Happy Anniversary, the family debates what extravagant gift to give Cliff's parents for their 49th wedding anniversary, eventually settling on a European cruise and performing a lip sync to Ray Charles' "Nighttime is the Right Time." Their family conflict is about how to celebrate wealth and love, not how to make ends meet. And in Season 3, Episode 8, Vanessa's Rich, Vanessa brags that an $11,000 painting hangs in their living room, only to be called a stuck-up rich girl at school. Cliff's response, "Your mother and I are rich. You have nothing," is both funny and revealing, a window into the bubble of privilege the Huxtables lived in. Scenes like these quietly showed a world of comfort, where the only risk was the kids growing up entitled, not the family facing any real hardship. Crucially, The Cosby Show never showed the uglier side of black life in America. The Huxtables' world is remarkably colorblind. Neighbors, friends, and colleagues of all races treat Cliff and Claire with respect. We never see them face workplace discrimination, racist insults, or economic hardship. For the first time, a major TV series starring black characters simply ignored racial bias rather than confronting it. Bill Cosby himself insisted on this approach. He worried that directly addressing racial conflict could alienate viewers, particularly white viewers, and he wanted a show that people could feel good about. The Cosby Show created a safe fantasy space of racial harmony, a version of America where the scars of history and the realities of discrimination simply didn't enter the picture. Watching the Huxtables, it was easy to believe that the struggles of the past were behind us. But while the Huxtables were enjoying their well-furnished slice of heaven on TV, the real state of Black America in the 1980s was far less idyllic. The Cosby Show premiered in 1984 during the Reagan era, a time marked by widening inequality and a harsh economic climate for many black communities. Yes, a black middle class was emerging, but it was smaller and more fragile than the Huxtable myth would suggest. By 1989, only about 1 in 7 black families in the United States earned the equivalent of a middle-class income of over $50,000 a year, compared to 1 in 3 white families. In other words, black households were only half as likely as white households to be comfortably middle class. Even those who achieved middle income status didn't have the same cushion as their white counterparts. On average, black households in the late 80s had barely 1/10 the net worth of white households. The wealth gap was enormous, a legacy of generations of discrimination in housing, employment, and education that a sitcom salary can't magically erase. For poorer black Americans, the 1980s brought tough times. Urban poverty deepened, factories left cities, jobs dried up, and the government safety net was shrinking. The very era when the Huxtables graced NBC with their designer sweaters saw a surge in black families falling below the poverty line. Unemployment in many black neighborhoods was distressingly high. The Huxtable family's Brooklyn Heights brownstone was worlds apart from the reality of, say, a black family in nearby Bedford-Stuyvesant, struggling with rent and underfunded schools. The Cosby Show presented an image of a unified, thriving black experience. Everyone upwardly mobile, educated, and living in suburban comfort. But the truth was a polarized reality. Only a lucky minority of black families did rise into the middle and upper middle class during the 80s, but many others were left behind or saw their situations worsen. Even for those African Americans who did make it into the middle class, life often didn't mirror the ease of the Huxtables. A real black doctor or lawyer in the 1980s likely had to navigate daily slights or doubts from colleagues in a still predominantly white professional world. A real Claire Huxtable might be one of only a handful of black women in her law firm, constantly needing to prove herself. Those nuances never appeared in The Cosby Show. Cliff Huxtable's patients all adored him. Claire's clients and coworkers treated her like royalty. They moved through society as if racism had vanished, an experience virtually unknown to most black people of that era. While Cliff delivered babies on TV, many black families were struggling to deliver basic opportunities to their children in the face of underemployment and systemic bias. Let's talk numbers to drive it home. In 1985, midway through Cosby's run, the median income for a black family was around $16,000 per year, while for a white family it was about $29,000. The Huxtables likely brought in well over 6 figures combined, putting them not just ahead of the average black family, but ahead of the average white family too. In fact, researchers calculated that the Huxtables' income would place them in the top 1% of all American households by income. That's an incredibly exclusive club. By the end of the 1980s, increasing numbers of black Americans were graduating college and entering professions. There were black doctors, lawyers, professors, and executives breaking barriers. The Cosby Show took that sliver of reality and magnified it into the norm. The show gave us an exceptional family and passed them off as typical. In doing so, it unintentionally fed a narrative that the only thing holding Black people back was personal effort and family values. Here's a Black family that has it all, so it must be possible for anyone, right? Wrong. While a handful of Black audiences viewed the show as inspiring and a rare escape from stereotypes, the same polished perfection that inspired them also made the show quite misleading. As the show grew in popularity, critics started to ask uncomfortable questions. Was this shiny depiction of Black affluence glossing over the very real problems facing Black America? Did it suggest that those who weren't successful just weren't as virtuous or hardworking as Cliff and Claire? These critics worried that The Cosby Show could skew public perception, and they were right. The phenomenon even got a name: enlightened racism. Basically, many white viewers felt enlightened and even proud of their open-mindedness because they adored the Huxtables. But the show also fed a dangerous illusion that racism was no longer a serious problem. If the Huxtables could thrive, the thinking went, why couldn't every Black family? This was the lie that white America wants us all to believe. In that mindset, the Huxtables' fictional success story became a comforting excuse for white audiences to ignore the very real systemic barriers that Black Americans continue to face. There's evidence this attitude took hold. Surveys in the late 1980s revealed that a large portion of white Americans believed discrimination was mostly a thing of the past. By 1988, after 4 seasons of Cosby dominating the airwaves, 80% of white respondents told pollsters that Blacks no longer faced bias in jobs, education, or housing that required any special attention or remedies. In one poll, most whites said affirmative action and other government efforts to help Black citizens were no longer needed. It's as if many looked at the Huxtables and thought, see? Look at that lovely Black family. They've proven anyone can achieve the American dream. Everything is solved. This comfortable conclusion is exactly what enlightened racism is. White viewers felt good about loving a Black TV family, yet they used that feel-good experience to dismiss the harsh realities many Black families still faced. Liking the Huxtables became a pat on the back. I'm not prejudiced. I love The Cosby Show, while ignoring continued inequality in real life. Percent 20 Americans, percent 20, seen percent in 20 all, life percent 20 opportunities, percent 20. That percent 20, most percent 20 Black. For some viewers, The Cosby Show even fueled a kind of victim-blaming narrative. They reasoned that since the Huxtables succeeded through hard work and good parenting, any Black family struggling with poverty or crime must be doing something wrong. The fiction of the Huxtables was co-opted to scold real people. If you're not making it, it's your fault. That's a dangerous oversimplification. It ignores the severely constricted life opportunities that most Black people in the 80s, and even today, had to contend with. Good parenting and hard work are wonderful, but they alone could not overcome red-lined neighborhoods, underfunded schools, workplace discrimination, or a justice system stacked against Black individuals. Cliff and Claire never had to fight those battles on screen, but many of their real-world contemporaries did on a daily basis. So yes, The Cosby Show lied to us, not through malicious deception, but through omission. It left out the context that the Huxtables were extraordinary, that many others were not so lucky, and that broader change was still needed in society. And because we love the Huxtables, we believed in their world. We wanted to believe that maybe racism really was a non-issue now. But sadly, outside the walls of that perfect brownstone, the realities of systemic inequality never went away. That is the hidden truth behind America's favorite sitcom family. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, check out our other deep dives into Black culture and film, and you'll never see these shows the same way again. Hit that subscribe button and keep watching, because we have more mind-blowing breakdowns coming your way.